Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CEC For Life podcast. My name is Christian McGrew, and I'm the Director of Outreach for CEC For Life. We are ecstatic to bring you season two, and today I'm joined with Katie Yarborough, who's on our podcast team, and I'm also joined with our special guest today, Lydia Taylor Davis. She is the spokesperson for Students for Life, and we are super happy to have Lydia on again. We had an episode with her last year, and so we are getting ready to do another one now.
Absolutely. Like you said, my name's Lydia. I work for Students for Life of America for the past few years. I do a nationwide speaking tour, speaking on college campuses, the truth about abortion. I make social media content both through the debates I have on campuses and just content online, spreading the truth about abortion. And I get to reach millions of people every month through this content. And then I work with a lot of our supporters as well. So I'm excited to build the pro-life generation, and I'm so excited to be here today.
We're super excited to have you too, and we're super excited to kick off season two of the CEC Fly podcast with this episode. And so, Katie, I'll also have you introduce yourself.
As Christian said, my name is Katie Yarborough. I am the secretary for the Florida Defending Life Alliance, and I am also the communication specialist for Women's Help Center, the Pro-Life Pregnancy Resource Center in Jacksonville, Florida. And I'm so grateful that Christian invited me to be on the CEC for Life podcast today.
We are going to start by recapping the Florida March of the Preborn in 2025. So, Lydia spoke at the march, and also Katie is our secretary for Defending Life Alliance of Florida. So we got a lot of people that were impactful towards the march. So we had a great march in April. It was in the state capitol in Tallahassee. We had Lydia, Kimberly Bird, and Frank Pavone speak. And we marched through the streets of Tallahassee. We got to the Capitol, and we were able to witness to over 1,000 counter protesters. It was an interesting experience. They outnumbered us by quite a bit, but it was really cool to just see how we had the center stage, and so everyone they were there for a different protest, but they of course they all started to protest us, and they had pro-abortion signs, and so it was pretty crazy, but it was a great time, and we got to do the liturgy for the preborn, and we had amazing speakers, like I said, and it was a great overall march. So I'm going to actually let Lydia talk a little bit more about what she talked about and just about her experience of the march.
Yeah, so like you touched on, it was maybe not the most expected march I've ever been to, but I almost felt like it was even better. A lot of marches are targeted towards just inspiring the pro-life base, which is great. But we also got to witness to some very pro-abortion people. So I thought that was a really incredible opportunity that we often don't get at these marches because we did have so many pro-abortion people there surrounding us. And so I was really excited to speak. I did share a little bit about my testimony about how I was pro-choice and became pro-life because of foster children, because of my foster sister, because pro-choicers told me that foster children like my sister are better off aborted. And so I got to talk a lot about how the pro-life movement has encouraged me to defend life. And I shared my story about helping a woman choose life at my university despite facing a lot of opposition. And so I think that was really powerful. People got to see the truth of the pro-life movement. It's not a bunch of old, angry, religious men trying to force their opinions and religion on you and that they hate women. They got to see that we're a bunch of young people ourselves, a lot of us, spreading love, spreading truth, spreading awareness of the fact that we actually are the ones that care for moms, for women. And so that was really incredible. And we did see a little bit of extreme animosity. There were a few protesters that were refusing to let me by and shoving a little bit. But we were able to stay mostly peaceful, which was encouraging. I had some great conversations with pro-choicers. And I just heard a lot of great feedback from the pro-lifers there that they felt really encouraged despite all this opposition to keep standing for life, no matter what they face. So I thought it was an incredible event, and you did a great job, Christian.
Thank you. Yes, we had a great time, and we were super happy to have Lydia speak, and the other speakers did a great job as well, and just to be able to witness to all of those people. And Katie, you also said one of the prayers. What did you take from it?
I thoroughly enjoyed the Florida March for the Preborn. It was my first time partaking in a statewide march like that in our state's capital. So I think it was really powerful that we were able to be in the seat of government for our state, because as we know, abortion is now a states' rights issue. Of course, our goal is a national abortion ban, but it's really important that we work towards banning abortion in every state. And so just being a witness there on the steps of the Capitol, like you guys said, like we were front and center, and we had an audience of like, I don't know, like 1,500 to 2,000. We were like 150 strong. And I think it just really shows the endurance and the stamina of the pro-life movement, that we don't back down in the face of opposition. And it was honestly such a beautiful moment to be able to partake in the liturgy, the liturgy for the preborn. I had never done anything like that before, and I really enjoyed the incorporation of faith into this march.
We are super excited to also announce that next year we're having the march again in Florida. So this time we're moving it to Jacksonville. So it's going to be on January 17th, right here in Jacksonville. It is going to be at a park downtown. We'll release more information on that soon, but we are happy to see everyone come to that march. So during the march, that same time frame, Lydia was also on her Abortion is Violence tour. What were some of your favorite experiences or crazy moments from that tour?
Yeah, I had a great spring tour this past semester. Looking forward to announcing my fall one pretty soon. So I went to a bunch of different schools this past spring across the entire country, from California to Florida. So I spoke at FSU a couple days before the Florida March for Life, and had some great conversations, got to reach thousands of people on these campuses nationwide, but also online through the videos we recorded on these campuses of these conversations I was having. While I was in Tallahassee at FSU, I actually had a gentleman, you can watch the video of the interaction, who came up and initially said he was kind of okay with killing even newborns, that he didn't even think newborns were valuable. And shockingly, within just a few minutes, I got him to be 100% pro-life, which is maybe the most extreme of a shift I've ever seen. So that was really incredible. And I mean, I did get protested quite a bit, of course, throughout the semester. Had some people yell at me throughout my speeches. But I mean, honestly, even in those moments where I did face violence, sometimes people were stealing our belongings or threatening me. I saw a great impact even through that, because I had pro-lifers that were there at these speeches, saw the behavior of the pro-abortion movement, saw how I and the pro-life movement responded in love and with truth and with science, and ended up being pro-life because of just witnessing the extremism of the other side. And so I had a lot of people come up to me after my speeches and say that they just happened to stumble into the event, and that they're leaning pro-life because of it, which was super encouraging. But definitely go back and watch some of the videos on Students for Life and my Instagram, Lydia Taylor Davis. There were some very crazy moments, but really encouraging moments. Even a moment where I got to debate a pro-abortion eagle. Yes, a man dressed up as an eagle and came to my event, because clearly that's how you win people over. So that was a really interesting conversation. You can check the footage out of that. But it was a great semester, and I'm looking forward to this fall going to even more schools. And I haven't announced my tour name yet, but your hint is that it will be targeting specifically Gen Z. So we're excited for that.
I'm excited to hear what the name's going to be. And actually, one thing that we had mentioned before this was that tell us about how, like, the Gallup poll that came out about how younger people are becoming more pro-life.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been really, really encouraging to see the work of Students for Life and young people across the country really come and spread and have a huge impact. We recently saw the Gallup poll come out just a couple months ago, and we saw that now only 34% of young adults now agree that abortion should be legal in all circumstances, which is a drop of 14 points since 2022, since Roe was reversed, which is crazy because, of course, we've seen so much pro-abortion backlash since we reversed Roe versus Wade. And yet we're continuing to see young people become more and more pro-life, which has been super encouraging. And we know that's in part due to our 1,500 campus groups across the country that partner with people like you at the Florida March for the Preborn. And these young people are seeing the truth and seeing that abortion ends a human life, and they are passionately pro-life. And so we're really excited about that. And pro-life identification amongst young adults climbed to 37% this year, which is an 11-point increase since 2022 also. So that's also super encouraging that people are not just leaning pro-life, but becoming unapologetically pro-life. So we're really excited to continue growing those numbers and young people because I'm very confident that we are going to make Gen Z pro-life.
Yeah, that is super encouraging that those statistics and seeing such a rise in pro-life young people. What I found actually like when I was in college, a part of the Students for Life group, is when we talked to people, um, it seemed like how to word this. Basically, it seemed like on both sides, it was kind of harder to deny the facts about like when life begins and if a baby is a human or not, you know? And so I think like on both sides, on the other side, it's like, okay, a lot of people were admitting that it is a human life that is alive, but they still thought it was okay to have like to kill that life. But then on our side, it's like more young people are waking up and realizing, wait, so these are lies that they told us for decades and decades that it's simply not a human. Like that's just not true. We have the technology to know that that's not true. And even like in biology books, we can just see that it is a human and alive, an alive human. So, yeah, I think that's really encouraging. And it's kind of like maybe just common sense that more young people are recognizing, okay, like if I support abortion, I have to like I'm supporting murdering someone, and some of them do. But I think it's really encouraging that we're seeing that shift.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with you. I think it's almost impossible now to deny that it's a human life in the womb. We've seen that shift now that we have more access to science. Those incredible ultrasounds that we're now able to see the baby in detail. And those biology textbooks. I mean, I can literally just start reading all these biology textbooks. Every single one of them says human life begins with fertilization. So you're right. I am seeing an increase in people who are now resorting to even more extreme pro-abortion arguments that it's a human life, but it doesn't deserve equal rights because it's dependent on the mother. It's not fully conscious yet, which are all scary arguments. The argument that not all humans deserve human rights, yeah, that's very scary. That's what's led to human rights abuses throughout history. So it's something we need to call out, and we do. And so I am very encouraged though to see the amount of people that are finally waking up to the truth that it is a human life, that not just the Bible says that, but science says that. So it's been really encouraging.
Yeah. So yeah, the ultrasounds, the new technology, like the 3D ultrasounds are like incredible. Katie, have you seen any stories like that? Because Katie works at our biggest local pregnancy resource center. And have you seen any like cool stories that have to do with the new ultrasound technology?
So I'm the communication specialist, so I'm not back in there interacting directly with the clients. But I mean, we have just the best staff and the best sonographer, and we do probably like anywhere from like 10 to 15 ultrasounds a day. And like we're the third busiest pregnancy center in the country. We have 4 locations throughout Jacksonville. Sorry, I didn't mean to like do a little like advertising plug. Um, but the ultrasounds are very, very powerful for women who are especially who are undecided or they're abortion minded, because a lot of them they don't know what's going on inside of them. They don't understand that there is a life growing inside of them because they've been told and these lies by the abortion industry for years that it was just a clump of cells, there's nothing going on until like week 20 or whatever. And we have to do these ultrasound scans very early on because in Florida we have a 6-week heartbeat protection act. So we're doing ultrasounds at like 4, 5, 6 weeks. And obviously at that point you can't see too much on the ultrasound, but you can hear the heartbeat. And I think that's really powerful because that is a sign of life. And it's just beautiful to hear the stories that our sonographer and our client advocates tell us about the lives that are being saved, like within our walls. Yeah, it's really awesome. And Lydia, I kind of wanted to just circle back to your tour. You're talking about how there's this whole shift back towards, young people being pro-life. Were you able to see like that kind of pattern on college campuses throughout your tour? Like, were there any moments where you were like, okay, this is what I'm out here for. Like, this is what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a few pro-choicers who showed up to one of my events and were so mad that there were so many pro-lifers there. They came up to the mic and they were like, I am so horrified that there's this many pro-lifers here. I can't believe you're willing to show your faces. People are shocked by how many pro-lifers there are. I'm not. I'm not shocked at all because it's so evident and so true that it's a human life in the womb, and people are waking up to that truth, and it's scaring the left a little bit, which is a good thing. We should be glad that they're scared. So absolutely, I've been so encouraged to see all of these students that are willing to stand for life, even while promoting my event. I spoke at UNC Asheville this past semester. It wasn't even the actual event was crazy. There were protesters there, but even leading up to it, these students that were hosting me had to really be unapologetically pro-life. One of the times they were promoting me, my speech, they had a pro-abortion person come up and cuss them out and then throw everything off their table, all the materials and everything. And of course, we caught it on camera. So that was great. He got in a lot of trouble for that. But these students really had to stand their ground and be willing to be unapologetically pro-life, even in the face of extreme backlash. And it's been so encouraging to see that throughout the country, people unashamed to be pro-life because they know no matter what's at stake that they're standing for preborn babies in the womb. They're standing against the leading cause of death in the history of the world. And that is so worth it, and that's worth any of the backlash we're facing. So I've been so encouraged to see this shift in young people. People all the time are like, "Oh, young people are so pro-abortion," and yes, they can be. But I think in reality, young people whether they're pro-life or pro-choice, are super hungry for truth, for justice. And the pro-life movement, all we have to do is show them that we are the side of truth and the side of justice. That if they're fighting for the side that supports healthcare, that they should be pro-life because being pro-life supports healthcare for both patients, both born and preborn. And if they want to be on the side that supports women's rights, they should be pro-life and support women's rights for preborn women as well. And so all it really takes is just showing them that truth. And then it's so easy to get young people fired up to be against abortion. So that's been amazing to see.
I honestly just love hearing that. Um, when I was in college, I hosted Kristen Hawkins, president of Students for Life at UF, University of Florida. And yeah, it was really honestly a little bit intimidating because, I'm there hosting her and she has this huge sign in the middle of the plaza that says like, I'm coming for your abortion rights. And I'm like, all right, like I gotta be bold, like I gotta own this. And there's people I know who are like coming up and they're like, wait, Katie, like, I mean, they knew I was pro-life, but I don't know if they knew I was like an anti-abortion extremist or whatever. Which honestly, I own that. I don't care. But yeah, it was definitely an opportunity to really own being pro-life. And we had a crowd of like 40, 50, 60 students, obviously all wanting to like argue with her. But
Yeah, I'm sure
just
that's crazy. Sorry, Katie, that's partially my fault. I helped come up with that tour name. I'm coming for your abortion.
I,
So apologies for
I was like, you know what? We might as well, be honest with what we're doing because that's the
absolutely.
truth.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it got your campus very fired up, which is of course the goal.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, some things people were saying, I was like, okay.
Well, great job. I'm sure. I think actually I do remember there were some great moments that came out of that campus tour. But yeah, it can definitely be difficult to stand in the face of some of the backlash we get. So props to you for that.
Thank you. It was an honor. It was so fun.
Yeah. When I was at UNF, we also hosted Kristen, and there's a lot of people that came, and also there are some people who I remember this one guy who he was like so at some point, like, and this is kind of goes back to the thing where the younger people now will accept that like abortion is okay knowing that it's a life. But this one guy like kept asking a question of he was like, well, I think that like human life is just like he was almost making the argument that like anyone should be able to be like it just wasn't important at all. And I'm like at that point you kind of have to talk to like a I don't know, like someone else, but not like we've proven our point. If you're like you're going as far to say that like no human life means anything, you know? Like I feel like that's kind of what we're facing now too, though, is people that just don't believe that human life is worth protecting, and we can see that with a whole host of issues, abortion being the main one. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about the new podcast that you guys are doing at Students for Life, Lydia, and that you're hosting once a week on Fridays. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. We're really excited about that. We just started a couple weeks ago. We now have 2 episodes out. The podcast is called Debunking Pro-Abortion Arguments. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. For the longest time, I've always said I will never do a podcast. Christian, love your podcast, but in general, I am super anti-podcast because I know my generation has no attention span and hates sitting up for podcasts, and I've always been super against podcasts. But Kristen Hawkins, our president, wanted me to do this. And so when we were planning it, I really wanted to go about it in a way where we were presenting pretty much the right response to every single pro-abortion argument you can imagine, but in the most simplistic, straightforward, factual way that won't bore you, that's straight to the point, gets the point across, and that it's easily accessible and shareable with people. And so we are releasing these episodes. There's going to be 6 in total. I won't be doing it forever. But there's 6 in total. So the third one's being released tomorrow, and each one covers a specific topic of pro-abortion arguments that we handle. So the first week went over the basic argument, when does human life begin? Which you and I have already talked about, all of us have talked about, that it begins at conception, that every biology textbook says that. Debunking these claims that it's a parasite, clump of cells. Yeah, so we've been going through each week debunking each argument. Tomorrow's episode is going to be all about debunking my body, my choice, and the violinist argument, the famous violinist argument. I know a lot of people have been asking for that one because it's probably I would consider one of the most difficult pro-abortion arguments to debunk. So we're excited about that, but it's going to be an ongoing podcast that goes until the beginning of September, so 6 episodes. And I think it's just a great opportunity to kind of go back to the basics of pro-life apologetics, how to defend your stance. So these are great episodes. If you have a pro-life friend that's not 100% pro-life yet and you want to send them these episodes to strengthen their beliefs, or if you have a pro-choice family member that you want to get on board a little bit more. I've been challenging all the pro-choicers in my comments section to watch every single episode and then come back and tell me if they're still pro-choice or not. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's the podcast, and we're really excited for the rest of them to come out.
Yeah, I love them so far, and I can't wait to see the rest of them. Um, What would you say is the like with the going along the same lines of this podcast and just making sure people know the facts? What would you say is the single most important fact that you would tell to a pro-choice person?
Oh my goodness. Oh, this is a really, I mean, the single most important facts. I think because of, honestly, I think because of what's going on in our news media, the lies right now, I think the most important one is emphasizing the fact that every single pro-life law supports women getting access to emergency care. 0 women have died because of pro-life laws. But so many thousands of women and children have been killed by pro-abortion laws. I think that's really important. There's a lot of lies out there right now saying that women are dying because of pro-life laws, that they're dying from miscarriage, that they're being denied miscarriage care, which is total complete lie. There's a huge difference between miscarriage and a direct abortion, just like there's a difference between burning someone alive and cremating someone. So I think that's probably the most important thing, just because I've been seeing so much misinformation in the news claiming that women are dying in parking lots, bleeding out. Because of pro-life laws, that's simply not true. And there's going to be a whole episode about that as well. Just kind of emphasizing those points because I think that's a huge lie that we don't care about women because we truly do. And if your doctor is not giving you medical care in pregnancy, it's because they're a bad doctor, not because of the pro-life law. So I think that's probably the most important thing, but I'll let you watch the whole episode to hear more on that.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And I feel like, well, I know that the pro-abortion side tries to throw that card of like, women won't be able to have miscarriage treatment or won't be able to treat an ectopic pregnancy or like women are dying, but that's just not true. And like you said, every state allows for, the well and first and foremost ectopic treatment is not an abortion as well as the miscarriage is not an abortion, so they like to throw those in there to kind of muddy the waters so we don't know what they're talking about, and then people who aren't educated will say, oh well, then I'm against that abortion ban because that means that women aren't going to be able to treat have their miscarriage removed or treat the ectopic pregnancy, when that's just simply false. And I don't know how we're going to get past that lie of the pro-abortion side, but that's one of the most important things. I agree with you, is that we need to make sure that everyone knows the facts and that we do want women to have the care that they need, and that also abortion is never medically necessary. So I think the next story that we're going to talk about is this new story that's developing this week that Students for Life and others have brought up, which is the Virginia case. So tell us more about that, Lydia.
Yeah, absolutely. To absolutely no one's shock, the public school system is back at it again with their pro-abortion nonsense, and this time it's even more severe because there's currently an investigation going on, thankfully, by Governor Glenn Youngkin in Virginia, who's opening a criminal investigation into allegations that staff in Fairfax County, which is not far at all from me, were arranging abortions for their students without parental consent, and potentially even using public money, which is insane. And officials at Centerville High School, which is the name of the school, allegedly arranged and bankrolled abortions for girls in 2021, including a 17-year-old, a minor, without notifying the parents. And school administrators, we believe, may have even known that the staff arranged abortions, and school funding may have been used, which could include local, state, and federal funds, according to some of these reports. And we're very deeply concerned about this. This is a huge issue. Totally should not be allowed under any circumstance. And so we're really excited that Governor Youngkin is looking into this and is going to hold these people accountable. But this is a huge pattern we see that schools, middle schools, high schools, colleges are so willing to work with the abortion industry and are encouraging abortion and now are apparently paying for abortions, which is insane. And so I think it really just highlights the importance of young people standing for life, of Students for Life's work as we are equipping the pro-life generation to abolish abortion, reaching young people before they're reached by their pro-abortion school system. And so as we work to cut Planned Parenthood out of schools, we're seeing more and more stories like this. We've also seen stories of allegedly schools handing out abortion pills on campuses like candy, which is also insane. And so I think it's really important that we hold schools accountable. And we're definitely going to be pushing for Governor Youngkin to look more into this.
Yeah, that is an insane story. That's just sick, just that the schools would arrange for these underage girls or any, girls, but underage girls to get abortions without parental consent. Hopefully, like you said, if we could, when we can fully defund Planned Parenthood, that'll be able to help because Planned Parenthood has such a they're so locked in with the school system and they go do sex ed and all these things. And um, so let's talk a little bit about what's going on with Planned Parenthood right now. So we know that they were defunded for a year by the big, beautiful bill, but tell us a little bit more about the pause that was put on by a judge.
Yeah, so it's been a long fight to take down Planned Parenthood, and this year we've seen huge, huge victories. And so we were able to pass the big, beautiful budget bill, which was a huge fight. It was a close one. I was up all night during the voting, sitting on the edge of my seat. So it was intense. Thankfully, it did go through. Unfortunately, they cut it from 10 years to one, which is not exciting, but we talked to Mike Johnson, and not all hope is lost yet. We might be able to push for more. But unfortunately, there is an Obama-appointed judge, Judge Talwani, who decided that she is going to try and legislate from the bench. And it's completely judicial tyranny, and she is trying to block this big, beautiful budget bill's defunding of Planned Parenthood, which she has absolutely no authority to do whatsoever. And so we actually held a rally during her hearing about this at the Supreme Court and at the Capitol. I was there with Students for Life Action and some of our student leaders calling for the Supreme Court to intervene, hold her accountable because this is absolutely not allowed. She has no authority to do this. She should have run for Congress if she wanted to have her say in this issue. But we're also asking for Congress to impeach her because this is a rogue judge. Judicial tyranny and should not be allowed. So we are standing against her right now. It's insanity that she thinks she has the right to do this. But besides that, we are also fighting to debar Planned Parenthood. A lot of people don't fully understand what this looks like. Even some of the people in DC, some of the politicians in DC, when we say we want to defund and debar Planned Parenthood, they're like, "Oh, we're on board with defunding, but what does debarment look like?" And essentially, what that looks like is that yes, we want to defund Planned Parenthood, but defunding them doesn't fully erase every single bit of funding. We're wanting to completely disqualify them from getting funding altogether, which is going to remove all of it and disqualify them from getting it years in advance. So it's a formal administrative action that essentially debarment makes an entity ineligible for government contracts, and there are certain grounds for debarment that you have to meet, which can be fraud, misrepresentation, misuse of funds, violation of laws and regulations, public health violations, criminal offenses, which of course Planned Parenthood commits all the time. So we have no concern at all. It would be very easy to prove that they should be debarred. We just need to get everyone on Capitol Hill involved in this and on board with this. And so we need to open this investigation into Planned Parenthood to debar them. And so we're really excited. We've been getting people on board with this, but that is our next step. And we've already seen huge victories from this defunding of Planned Parenthood. We've now had, I think, over 38 Planned Parenthoods have closed just in 2025, which is crazy. That's going to save so many babies. It's been such a huge victory. We all throw a little mini party every time we hear of another one closing. It just feels like back to back at this point. And so Planned Parenthood's very scared. I'm actually on their text line, which seems weird, except I love it because I get to see them cry every single week when they beg for money and they text all their supporters begging for money and complaining and crying about Trump and the big beautiful budget bill and us pro-lifers. Poor them, they can't kill babies anymore. So we're absolutely drinking their tears. We're throwing parties. We're excited, and we're not going to back down until every single Planned Parenthood is shut down. So that's the lay of the land when it comes to Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the possibility that Planned Parenthood could be defunded even for a year. I mean, like you said, I was so disappointed when I saw that it went down from 10 years to 1 year. It was almost like a slap in the face. But even 1 year of Planned Parenthood being defunded is positive because, I mean, they might not be able to survive that. They definitely would not be able to survive 10 years, I don't think, of being defunded. So, and hopefully there is hope that we could get more than just 1 year. And hopefully everything with this judge goes away that we wanted to go, and hopefully, like, because you said that she can't even do this. So we will see what happens, but I know that we are all really excited for that possibility of Planned Parenthood being defunded. I mean, Planned Parenthood is just so evil. And for anyone who doesn't know, which it's pretty common knowledge, but their history is just riddled with eugenics, and their founder, Margaret Sanger, was an openly racist, and she said so many disgusting things. I'll let you look up on your own time, but she was evil. They sterilized tens of thousands of African Americans in the 20s or 30s, I believe. And then they went right into abortions when, when it was became legal. So Planned Parenthood is just super gross, super evil. They have been connect. I mean, if you have you ever seen Moffat 21? It's a documentary about the history of, I believe the full title is I'll look it up, but it's like Moffat 21.
Is it, wait,
Hmm.
is this the Seth Gruber thing, the 1916 project?
No,
Oh,
it's not that, but it's probably similar. I haven't seen the 1916
I
project.
haven't seen either.
But no, Mob 21 is a documentary, and actually live action has it on their YouTube, and you can just look up and watch it. It's like 2.5 hours. It's called Moffat 21 Black Genocide in 21st Century America. And basically it
Hmm.
goes over all of how eugenics in the early 20th century is all intertwined. Like Margaret Sanger and Adolf Hitler had close friends that they were connected, and also obviously slavery uh, went straight into the eugenics movement after slavery was became illegal, and then that was Planned Parenthood was at the forefront of that. So it just kind of shows how all of the major dehumanizations in the last couple hundred years are all connected, and abortion now is the one that we have to fight against. And yeah, I would totally recommend everyone watching Moffat 21. It's great. Um, and actually, our next topic kind of flows from that, because there is a headline that I saw the other day that Bill Gates, the Bill Gates Foundation, is promoting and developing a contraceptive that would prevent women from getting pregnant for 8 years. And he's promoting this, and they are implementing it in Kenya and in African countries. And the Kenyan president or prime minister is all for it, and he's working with Bill Gates on this. And this is just right back to what we see with Planned Parenthood in the early 20th century. This is eugenics, and I don't see why anyone would think that that's okay. And that's just so evil how a corporation like Bill Gates and Melinda Foundation are now promoting eugenics in Africa. So what are y'all's thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's insane. I mean, I've seen this trend actually a lot recently of people celebrating the declining birth rate. It's so scary, really. People are so against having children, and now they're inventing birth control that stops you from having children for 8 years. And I don't know all the details of it, but that does not sound safe at all to me.
No.
And so no, I think it really just is evidence of a society that is devaluing life, devaluing children, devaluing parenthood, motherhood. And it is scary and it concerns me quite a bit. Even if you're not pro-life, it should concern you because we need children. We need a growing society. People are celebrating the declining birth rate when it's actually causing huge problems in countries like Japan and China that don't have enough young people anymore, that they're having huge problems within their economy. They don't have enough people to take care of their older people. My mom actually was a tutor online for Chinese children, would teach them English a few years ago. And the Chinese government, in efforts to try and raise the birth rate, actually banned some forms of tutoring because they're hoping parents will spend more money on having more kids instead, which is crazy and so bizarre. But that's the lengths they're going to because they're so desperate for more children because they're having huge issues because of the declining birth rates. And so I'm deeply concerned about this in America, I mean across the world. And this is just truly just evidence of this huge problem that we're having and this I mean, it really all comes down to the culture and society that is devaluing families. So it's a huge concern for sure. And it's absolutely ridiculous that this is what we're spending our time and effort focusing on is
Yeah.
birth control that prevents children from that's insanity to me. 8-year birth control. So hopefully it does not go forward, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. It's so gross that they'd even want to do that. And again, I don't know all the details of how it would work for 8 years. And also, if that's what the headline is, like if you're a woman, like how are you going to trust that you're ever going to be able to give birth or get pregnant again if it's designed
Mm.
to stop at 8 years and magically you're good? So yeah, that seems really sketchy. But um, yeah, no, I really do think that the declining birth rate is an issue as well. And especially in China, they had the one child policies for decades and they finally stopped it. I believe it's not one child anymore, but is it like two or three at this point? Do you know the details on that?
Yeah, they don't have a one child policy anymore because of they having issues. So now I think
Yeah.
they're just trying to get as many kids as they can now.
Yeah, so that's awesome that they stopped the one child policy. But for those decades that they had that, I mean, imagine how many hundreds of millions of babies were murdered just because they weren't allowed to be born. So that's crazy. And I know that there are some pro-lifers who have had these incredible stories where they have helped women in China, like under the one child policy, give birth and have these babies. And I think Reggie Littlejohn is someone who did that. I know talking to Sarah Neely about that, and that she would help with the women who were over there in China who like wanted to have the babies, but they couldn't. They weren't allowed to because of the policy, but they could find ways around it or try to do it in secret. So yeah, that is it's definitely one of the biggest things that I think is a misconception in our time is like all these people think that we need to have less people, but in reality, like the world is underpopulated. It's not overpopulated. And so we don't even have a growing birth rate in the United States, I don't believe, at this point. I think it's around two, but
Yeah,
that's just like a replacement.
I think we're either like right at replacement rate or right under. I like either read or saw or heard something about there being incentives for women in South Korea, like or like couples to start dating because they have a horrible, like very horrible declining birth rate in South Korea. And so like they obviously can't fill the jobs or like take care of each other because no one's having children. And it's just this, you know, because of all this feminism and like women in the workforce and everything. So women are like in the workforce longer and then they're not becoming mothers and all this stuff. But then circling back to the contraceptive from Bill Gates in Africa, it was presented as a solution to the maternal mortality rate in Africa, which apparently, according to the video that you sent me, Christian, 70% of maternal deaths in the world occur in Africa. But it just doesn't make sense to provide this as a solution to the horrible maternal mortality rate because it's just slapping a band-aid on. Like you can't fix this if no one's getting birth. Like the video in the video, the girl stressed, you know, having more education for women to become nurses or midwives or like access to healthcare. He was like, if I were Bill Gates, I would like build a hospital instead of like giving out this contraceptive that stops women from giving birth for 8 years. Yeah, it's just crazy. I don't know. This world is insane.
Yes, no, it's crazy that that video was crazy, yeah, that I sent you, and it just kind of showed you that even the people in Africa do not want this. They don't want someone to come in and basically sterilize their population for 8 years. Like that's just like who would think that's so dystopian? That's like who would actually want that? Nobody. So I think it's sick that Bill Gates is trying to do this. Um, we need to be promoting the cultures that are life affirming, like Africa. Africa and the Philippines, they're having so many babies, and we should promote that to places like America and to China and places that are not repopulating at the same level. They have a culture of life, and we have a culture of death. So, versus, Bill Gates is trying to go in and change their culture of life to become a culture of death. But what we should be doing is promoting the culture of life that they have to the countries that have a culture of death. So, yeah, that's just a crazy story. And I think that what we're going to do is we're going to wrap it up with a fun topic that is kind of what we like to do on all the episodes is we like to talk about um, the culture a little bit. And one of the cool things in the pro-life movement is that we do find sometimes, even though the culture is not on our side, sometimes they will come around and do something that maybe they don't mean to do. But there'll be a movie where there's some strong pro-life messages, or there will be a song or a TV show or some type of content or something in culture. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about, well, actually, Lydia, I'm gonna have you talk a little bit about Fantastic Four, and I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard that it's very pro-life. I know that you know a little bit more about that. So, what are the pro-life themes in Fantastic Four, and why should everyone go see it?
So I haven't seen it yet either, but I need to because I've been seeing everything about it in the scenes. So hopefully, if you're watching this, you'll either go see it or you've already seen it. But no, I think there's incredible imagery of a preborn baby in the womb, from what I'm hearing, which is amazing. And there's just so many family values throughout the film, which is crazy because we don't typically see that in Hollywood. But the fact that they depicted a preborn baby and in the womb and showed that in detail. That's super exciting for me. And I honestly feel like I've been seeing kind of a trend, not just in the Fantastic Four, but in other movies and TV shows. My guilty pleasure is I love Squid Games. And I watched season one, obviously, went super viral. Season two actually was super, super pro-life. One of the main characters is a pregnant woman who is in Squid Games, and her ex-boyfriend's there, the baby's father. And we find out from interactions between them that he tried to pressure her into an abortion. And she remains determined on protecting her baby throughout the entire series. She's trying to survive so that her baby can live. And when other characters in the show find out that she's pregnant, they immediately begin working to defend her and keep her baby alive. And one of the scenes, some of the players talk about how her preborn baby is an additional player in the game, so humanizing the child, and that if she has twins, that there's two players, and so totally, just like so encouraging to see this both in TV shows and movies. Seeing this valuing of babies in the womb. I know Dune is another movie I can think of that values babies in the womb and shows them in the womb, which is super encouraging. So it's been so great to see this, even if they're not explicitly saying, "Oh, abortion is wrong." They're still almost showing it by lifting up family values and humanizing babies in the womb. It's been really great to see that, and I could probably think of many more movies or TV shows, but those are the few that I can think of now that are more recent. So that's been great, and I hope Hollywood keeps it up.
Yes, and that's so funny because I think we talked about Dune too the last time that you were on the podcast, and yeah, the same thing. It depicted a preborn baby in the womb, and that is so cool. I didn't know that that's what they do in Fantastic Four, but now I'm super excited to see it because just 2 years in a row we get two movies that depict a baby in the womb, where they probably would have never done that 10 years ago. So I think that the culture is changing a little bit where we can see Hollywood even promoting things that is life affirming. Super cool. So I am going to give my top three pro-life movies that you should watch. I don't know if you guys have a top three. I know that you just gave a few, Lydia, but so if I had to give my top three, I'm gonna just give my three and then we'll talk about them. But I think that number three is Unplanned. It's a great movie. Number two is Amazing Grace. So it's actually not really like a pro-life movie. It's about slavery and about how that fight and how the fight was to end slavery in the UK or in England, I guess. A couple of decades, sorry, not decades, a couple of centuries ago. It's a great story, and William Wilberforce is the main character, and he's a hero, and he's someone that we can look up to as pro-lifers to emulate. And he fought against slavery, and now we're fighting against similar dehumanization, which is abortion. So, and then the number one movie or documentary is Moffat 21 that I mentioned earlier. I think that that's probably the most impactful, or yeah, it's the most impactful documentary I've ever seen. And just to see all of the threads and how deep the roots of evil go in Planned Parenthood and the abortion movement in the United States is so it's so crazy to just see how deep those roots go. And I would definitely suggest everyone watch Moffat 21. So yeah, have you all seen the other two of those? You've probably seen Unplanned.
Oh yeah, I'm a huge fan of Unplanned. I used to show it on my campus when I was in college, and a lot of our student groups do too. So yeah, definitely watch Unplanned. Warning, you will sob your eyes out, but it's so good and super pro-life.
And then
Yes, I hosted a unplanned movie night when I was in college, and I just remember, yeah, I was crying. It was very powerful. And I believe she's coming out with a new movie, if I'm not so much mistaken.
I think so.
I forgot the name of it. But she said it's going to be even more powerful than unplanned. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, she is. We're really excited about it. Some of our staff have talked with her about it, and we're really excited about hopefully showing it on some of our campuses. It's going to be really powerful.
Awesome. I can't wait. So, any other movies that popped up for you guys when you thought about this? Any TV shows? I know you said Squid Game, June, Fantastic Four.
A classic that I always recommend is Horton Hears a Who. A person's a person, no matter how small. Gotta
True.
see that one. Even though it's not explicitly pro-life, it's still kind of pro-life. And another one that I just thought of actually, that I never actually associated as like a straight up pro-life movie. That's actually one of my favorite movies of all time in general is A Quiet Place. It's a little bit of a thriller, a little bit scary. So if you're not into scary movies, don't watch it. It's pretty clean though, actually. There's no like crazy swearing or sexual content or anything, but it's the first one is all about a family with a woman who's pregnant and they're trying to save her and her baby and make sure that they survive. So very and they choose to have children in the midst of the world ending basically and support their family. So that's another one I could think of actually that I just now had the realization is kind of a pro-life movie. So yeah, but there's a lot. Honestly, we could go on probably for a while. Now I'm encouraged. Maybe Hollywood's more pro-life than we thought.
Maybe so. Yeah, Quiet Place is good. I remember that I watched that one too, and it is a good movie. And just that she's pregnant and that they're trying to save baby, and it humanizes the preborn baby. So that's awesome. All right. Well, Lydia, thank you so much for coming on again, and we'd love to have you back again at some point in the future next season. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for speaking at the march, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you guys so much.